have a taste of Woodford.
This is a good time for us to say we're accepting sponsors for the Annuity Fund Guys podcast.
Yeah, we are.
Any, so long as you're good.
Hey, if it's a good product, okay, and you've got good financial stability and good customer service.
Hey, with that being said, welcome to another episode of the Annuity Fund Guys.
Here we go.
From whiskey sponsorships to product selection.
Yeah, I think the whiskey sponsorships is, what we look for in a whiskey company is a little different than what we look for in an insurance company, an annuity company.
Yeah, why don't you tell us what this is real quick?
What we look for in a whiskey company? Yeah. Pretty much just good product. They could be going out of business.
You don't care about their customer support, their financial stability, any of those things?
I guess, you'd want to have your product coming for a while. So, yeah, financial stability would be important. And customer service, if you ever have to deal with anything, you get a sorry bottle or something. But good product, you shouldn't end up with a sorry bottle. So I don't intend on using the customer service much. But, I tell you, sometimes agents, though, they'll pick product, or they'll decide what they're going to sell a client just purely based on product and no consideration for the carrier behind it. And then sometimes it's over consideration for the carrier. And the sweet spot, I think, is the happy medium. You've got to consider both the product that they've actually produced, the annuity that's on the table, and the way that they operate with their rate integrity, their customer service, their financial stability, all of those things.
What's the biggest blind spot that you see agents when they're selecting product? With carriers specifically, and I don't want to say any carrier names. Obviously, we've talked about that. We're not going to ever go blast a carrier or anything like that. But do you see any glaring blind spots? They overlook this type of thing because of a name or whatever.
Yes, and I don't see this as often with agents that we work with. This is a really interesting thing because I've got connection to other marketers at other IMOs, and we've talked. We've got marketers that have worked at other IMOs. It's fascinating to me how frequently I hear about agents that their number one concern is what's the commission? What's the commission? What's the commission? And do you know how infrequently I ever even hear that with the agents that we work with? I'm dead serious. They'll ask, hey, I'm just curious what's the comp on this or whatever. That's after we've determined what product we're going to use. Out of 100 cases, I'd probably have one, maybe two, where they would ask comp up front.
Really?
Yes. Now,
that means you're bringing in good caliber people.
I think it's good caliber people that are actually out there to do what's right for the client. And I think, too, there's a lot of trust. I think, because the way that I think about it, and I hope that the agents that we work with know that this is my view on it, you have 4 entities that have to all be taken care of. Mm-hmm. Your client has to be taken care of, the agent has to be taken care of, the IMO has to be taken care of, and the insurance company has to be taken care of. Everybody needs to benefit from the relationship, from that contract, that policy. So you can't be an IMO and just intentionally have your agents trying to sell low comp products. It needs to be good, fair comp. But what is good, fair comp doesn't necessarily mean it's the highest comp that's available. And that's where working with a good agent comes into play, where they're good with good. Right. They're okay with having good, fair comp, as opposed to, what's the highest commission I can get? And sometimes agents will pick product based on the commission that they're able to get, and if it's not the highest, they don't want to sell it. That's a blind spot, because it ends up being the client that suffers for that a lot of times. A lot of times agents will they'll be real focused on rates. Okay, sometimes they'll be real focused on bonus. Sometimes they'll be real focused on carrier ratings, AM Best ratings specifically. And they'll, the terminology that we use is an A-rated carrier. Well, okay, you've got, and everybody knows that means AM Best.
Sure.
Right? We kind of understand that. But what about the other 3, 4, 5, 6 credit rating agencies? Do their opinions not matter? It's we just kind of have adopted AM Best as the standard, and if they're A on AM Best, that's great. If they're not, we don't look at it, kind of a thing. And I'm saying we, but I'm not talking about we. I'm talking about a lot of individual agents. That's kind of the way that they approach it. What I like to do is, yes, you have to consider the credit rating agencies. The way that those function is it's credit worthiness. Well, when you're a client and you're positioning or you're placing, few $100,000 with an insurance company in exchange for some kind of guarantees, in a sense, the client is the creditor. They're the ones that are, I think that's the right terminology, they're the ones that are actually giving the money over to this entity in exchange for the guarantees back. So credit rating, credit worthiness, so to speak, are they worthy of receiving your funds? That's an important thing to consider. How likely are they to fault or default on their obligations? Are they, do they meet their policy obligations? Do they have all of the things in place to meet those? That's a lot of what those credit rating agencies take into place, but there are other financials that need to be considered as well.
What's interesting when you talk about the different agencies, in a lot of ways, it's like, well, they all should matter, right? All the different crediting agencies that are rating these companies should matter, but they don't technically all get considered. So if you think about somebody that's securities licensed, there's one agency that really matters.
AM Best.
AM Best.
Yep.
That's it. So you could have a company that's B++ in the majority of the others, or maybe they're A in the majority of the others, but they're B++ and AM Best. And suddenly, if your securities registered, you can't write that product in most cases.
Right.
So
one of the wild things to me is how high some carriers get rated with these credit rating agencies, in spite of two other financial factors that I like to look at: transparency, surplus, and reinsurance, TSR, and the surplus of assets to liabilities. So there are A and A+ rated carriers that have a worse TSR ratio and a lower surplus percentage than carriers that are A- and B++. Why that's the case, I don't really know. There are all kind of algorithmic things going on in the background that are determining, the ratings that they get, but the cold hard numbers that you see on paper, that's not manipulated.
sure.
So there's some moving pieces there that allow carriers where you might look at the actual financials, the cold hard numbers, and think, I don't know if I like that. But then you look at the letter by their name and they're A. And that's a reality. And that's things that need to be considered.
Sure. Yeah.
And another piece is customer service and rate integrity. I mean, when we look at the five criteria that I like to examine, I derived these from Chad after years and years of him doing product selection in his business. You look at financial stability, customer service, benefits in the product, payout if it's income, or growth potential if it's accumulation, and then renewal rate integrity. There's those 5 factors that are kind of the key factors that we're looking at. 3 out of the 5 are more carrier-based than they are product-based. But sometimes agents will pick what they're going to use with their clients explicitly based on product or explicitly based on carrier. And that's where you end up in kind of some weird territory.
You especially see that allure with some of these big bonusable products, where agents are picking these products because of a huge bonus number. That's, in a lot of cases, not the actual best product for their client scenario.
Yeah, it's very true. And then on top of that, one of the things that confuses agents a lot of times is when they see bonus and they assume that bonus just means it's just premium bonus, account value bonus, not knowing, a lot of times when agents are starting out, not necessarily knowing that you might see a 25, 30, 40 something % bonus, and that's not actually a premium bonus or an account value bonus. That's a benefit-based bonus for income purposes.
Huge difference.
And it's a huge difference. So they'll go position it with a client, and they're not trying to mess anybody over.
Absolutely.
But it's like, oh man, look at this 35% bonus you're going to get. It's like, well, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's awesome, and the client buys it. They think they get a 35% bonus. Well, actually, no, that was in the benefit base for future income. Now the client thinks that the insurance company was
messing them over.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and this is an interesting thing because I've had agents ask me before, oh, Caleb, you go read these reviews on this carrier, you read reviews on that carrier. It's like you can find bad reviews on any carrier. I wonder how many times bad reviews are written on carriers because of improper selling at the beginning stages, where the agent is the one with the trust and the rapport with the client. They sell a policy and explain that it works XYZ way. And then they get their policy details and they try and do something within the policy, and the carrier's telling them no, and they think the carrier is the one that's messing them over. And it was just maybe the agent didn't know how it actually functioned. I think a lot of bad reviews for insurance companies are because of that. So make sure you know your products and how they work.
If you're going to be in annuity sales, make sure you know your products and how to select them.
Mm-hmm. But anyways,
well, let's talk about the week, man. We just jumped straight into the weeds there. Super valuable though. I mean, that's a huge thing for most agents, understanding why and how to select the best product, the best carrier, for a specific client situation.
Yeah.
So, but we're actually catching up on a couple weeks.
We are.
You were sick last week.
Yeah.
So now we're back on track. We're live. So if you're listening to this now, you are right with us. This was our actual week. We're not a week delayed anymore. So I want to recap the last 2 weeks because we had a couple of big things happen. We got to go to a really great industry conference, the 8% Nation conference, with Cody Askins and his whole team.
Awesome team.
A great team over there. So I want to be able to talk through that some and just talk through, what's been going on for the past couple of weeks. A lot can happen in a couple of weeks. Transitions, additions, all kinds of different stuff that can occur, and all good stuff. All really, really good stuff. So let's chat first about the 8% Nation.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, that whole team is awesome. Cody's a great guy. I think the ethics, the integrity of that team is pretty clear from everything that I saw, every interaction I ever had. They just do things with excellence, and they're very service oriented. They want to take care of their people. They're excited. They're energized. It was a great conference. A lot of value, I felt like in the I didn't catch as many sessions as I probably would have liked to have caught. I was out at our booth at our table, but the ones that I did catch, man, there are nuggets in there that were absolute gold. Things that you take with you forever. Lots of agents, lots of great kind of industry companies, sponsors, things like that. Different types of companies, marketing companies, digital media companies. Some IMOs there, some trainers, all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, it's a pretty cool event.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And honestly, that was my first time really being exposed in person, right, to Cody and his whole team. And obviously, I've seen him online for many years at this point and seen him on Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that. But it was the first time that I'd ever been around them, right? Ever been around their team. And it's always interesting when you get around people for the first time, if it lines up, right? If what you see online is what you see in person. And I would actually go as far to say, like, what I saw in person between Cody and his team was way beyond what I actually perceived from online.
Right.
And not that what my perception was online was anything negative at all. Like, it was great.
Right.
I love what he's doing for the industry, love what he's been doing, especially like in the life insurance industry for a long time. But getting to know them in person, right? Him, his team, a few of his team members, just great people that care about the industry very, very deeply, and that are not threatened by other people who are in similar things, right? Similar lines, similar fields. We've been talking about this recurring theme of competition a lot. And there was a quote. Do you remember the quote that he said about collaboration over competition or something like that? He had some kind of quote. I have it in my notes, but he talked about this concept of embracing collaboration over being fearful of competition, and how you can find a way to work with anybody, right? If there's mutual value there, which we talked about it over the past couple of weeks, if there's mutual value there's a way that you can work together in a way that actually betters the industry that we're in. And It was so cool to get to see so many people that were actually there to see the industry become a better place.
Right.
One of the eye-opening things for me, and if you're an agent listening to this and you're not annuity specific, then you're probably in the majority. And this was our first big time, industry conference that we've been to. And it was very eye-opening to me how many people that are not in annuities currently but want to be have very little understanding of annuities. Yeah. Very little understanding of how to get into them, even like licensing required to sell them. Right. All of those kinds of things. So it's really eye-opening to me, even within our firm, what we're doing on how to actually service and provide a need and a solution to a huge subset of the life insurance, the Medicare industry, all of that whole spectrum that we don't typically focus on. We help them, right? We do a lot of cross-selling training and stuff like that. Right. But it got our wheels spinning so much about, and there's this huge subset of the market that are doing great work, they're servicing a lot of clients. They've got the leads part figured out,
Yep.
right? Because they're meeting with people. They've built rapport, trust, all that kind of stuff. But they have no idea how to sell annuities.
Right.
And it was so great to have those conversations. So it was cool because we came into that event having a certain level of like expectation on the depth of conversation that we would have. And it was challenging because we had to scale it back.
Right.
Which is always cool when you have to talk about something in maybe simpler terms than what you anticipated. But it was really cool to see so many agents get that light bulb going off where they start to realize like, oh, I could do this.
Right.
Like this is not as complicated or as daunting or as scary as maybe I thought. And it's already been great to see some of those conversations happening.
It is. There's a saying that you're one skill away from doubling your income. And I think sometimes people can hear that and then they just start thinking, and the first skill that comes to mind, they start trying to develop. And the key is not to just add another skill. The key is to add the right skill.
Right.
You can go add the wrong skill and you not see any fruit from that.
Right.
But you add the right skill, you're one right skill away from doubling your income. And for a ton of agents, life insurance and Medicare agents, that one skill is annuities.
Oh, yeah.
If they could just simply learn how to cross-sell, they could double their revenue, double their income.
At least.
At least.
Yeah.
And then for annuity-specific agents, okay? Because there are those. We didn't run into a ton of them at 8%, but you guys are out there. You're probably one skill away from doubling your income. I think about it in terms of we have our weekly mentorship calls every Friday morning with agents that are a part of our training program. And we were talking this morning about, doing some digital marketing and actually creating a brand and putting out good content and that type of thing. Well, that's a daunting thing.
Right.
That can be a scary thing. That's new water. A lot of agents, if they've been around for a long time, they may not be skilled in digital areas. They might not be skilled with social media, things like that.
Right.
But that's one skill that you can develop that quite literally has the potential to double or more your income. So it's like identifying that one skill and then working hard to develop that skill, and you'll see the fruit from that.
Oh, yeah. What was really interesting to me is it was a cool mix of motivational with some like heavy hitting practicals.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really cool to get to see, the influence that Chad has in the industry, which, being close and being such great friends, partners, all that kind of stuff, you kind of lose sight of that, right? You kind of lose sight of the impact that an individual who's written over 310 million at the time of this recording, right? That's a lot of annuity premium with someone's own pen where they're doing all the calls, they're setting all the appointments, they're doing all the, transactions, they're doing all the follow-up, they're getting all the money moved, everything that's involved in that process, he's doing it.
Yeah.
And so seeing agents come alive and even seeing like some of these agents, these, Medicare and life insurance agents coming up to you and Chad and being like, I recognized your voice from the 7-Figure Annuity Sales podcast. They're in middle of conversation. That was a weird thing for me, man. When
it happened a couple of times.
Someone's coming to you and you're mid conversation. They're like, wait, are you Caleb North from the 7-Figure Annuity Sales podcast? And I'm like, trust me. Let me tell you about this guy.
You think you know this guy? I'll tell you all about him. Yeah, it's a weird deal, man, but it's cool. It was a great time. Lots of great people. The whole speaker lineup was solid. But it is weird to see Chad get that kind of. It's like celebrity kind of esque weirdness.
Yeah, it's like niche celebrity status.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
But well deserved though. I mean, what he's done in this industry in the time frame that he's been in this industry is second to none. I mean, outside of people that have big firms that are, producing $100 million a year with a whole firm where you have one writing agent, for somebody to be doing, 30, 40 million a year and doing all the components of that, that's
for a guy who uncovers and manages all of his own lead and marketing connections, calls every single one of his clients, books every appointment, runs every appointment, does most of his case design. I help him with a little bit, but not much.
He calls you for the complicated ones.
Fills out his own apps, submits them, works with carrier on pending business, calls transfer companies to get money moved, like is literally doing everything, policy deliveries, and then annual reviews when clients reach out at their anniversary. It's like, for somebody to do every step of that and still be doing 30 plus million a year in annuity premium at 310 since 2008, it quite literally is I think unrivaled. I don't know that you find another individual agent that is doing all of those components themselves and writing that much business.
Yeah. And manage other organizations.
Yeah.
So
it is a warranted applause.
You better listen to this. We're giving you a little brag session, Chad, if you're listening to this
I
right now.
guarantee you he's on his hammock in Colorado right now, enjoying a cool afternoon while we're over here in Texas
sweating
just
our butts
sweating
off.
away. Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Man.
Great event, though. It's definitely one of those things that opened my eyes to the importance of being present at those kind of events, especially with all the annuity training and stuff that we do on a daily and weekly basis. So super cool.
Yeah.
Super
Man, I've
cool.
had some really cool couple of cases the past couple of weeks where working with brand new agents, getting their first policies submitted has been super rewarding. And good policies that like you look at, good applications, you look at it and just like there's no suitability issue. Like that thing's getting issued. It's just a matter of time. They're going to have their first annuity policy issued.
Right.
And it's like to have a role in that and to play a part in that, it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding. There's a few
That's
from
awesome.
the past couple weeks that have submitted and are working toward issuing their first policies.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you had to be super hands-on in those, or has it been?
Pretty hands-on. More hands-on in one than the other two. But it's just
Part of the process,
It's part of the process. Yeah. Good, solid. They're going to be good, solid producers. It's kind of all the telltale signs are there. All the foundational pieces are there. Let's just get a few under their belt and just roll from there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's kind of like breaking the ice. You got to get that first policy or two down, and then once that happens, it's like, oh, wait a second, this isn't so complicated.
Right.
I think breaking through that door, that barrier, that getting that first one, it can be a little bit challenging.
Nice.
But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
they're doing it.
That's awesome. Any crazy or funny stories or anything over the past couple weeks?
Oh, man,
we've been pretty heads down.
I know it.
The past couple weeks.
My days are starting to run together. I can hardly tell 4 weeks ago from yesterday.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know about any funny stories necessarily. Excited for what we got going. Excited for stuff in my personal life. Starting a cattle company with my brother, and then launching Cowboy Case Designer, which you're a huge piece of.
Tell everybody about that.
So.
This is awesome, by the way. I've been trying to get Caleb to do this for a long time, and especially, if I can just interject real quick, we are trying so diligently to get agents to focus on building their brand, building their niche, establishing, their credibility in the industry. And so we've said, hey, we're maxed. Caleb and I are typically maxed in what we do.
Right.
But if we would be willing to put in a little bit extra time, a little bit extra effort, a little bit more sacrifice to actually build a case study for agents in a very specific niche.
Yeah.
To show that you can, be diligent, you can create content, you can start to build a following online, and in a short period be able to actually translate that into sales.
Right.
And that's why we're launching into this, and I'll let Caleb share,
Yeah.
but it's called the Cowboy Case Designer.
Yeah, so it's the reason I think partially that it took me so long to come around to the idea is because of the name Cowboy Case Designer, which actually I think I might have thrown out there one time as like a joke, like of a stage name or whatever. It's like you got these Stan the Annuity Man, or all these kind of interesting names. Chad the Annuity Sales Coach, right? It's
Sure.
like everybody kind of has their brand, their shtick or whatever. I was like, oh, what about the Cowboy Case Designer? Because I grew up on a ranch, and I worked that ranch, with my dad for almost a decade, and went from ranching to retirement services. And then after having been in retirement services now for a while, able to leverage what that's created for me into getting back into ranching and actually launch a cattle company with my brother, to where now it's like, wait a second, this Cowboy Case Designer thing, that makes a little bit of sense. And so basically the concept of Cowboy Case Designer is, it is a Facebook, it'll be on YouTube, probably LinkedIn. Like we'll have these different social media pages and channels where we're just putting out content geared toward retirees, pre-retirees, and retirees that can resonate with ranching to some degree. I mean, it's kind of geared, like the niche, I guess you could argue, is ranchers, and speaking retirement kind of in their terminology. So leveraging what I've learned and am continuing to learn in the cattle industry, and creating analogies and metaphors through that into retirement, and bringing some really good retirement insights through that kind of that channel. And so, yeah, long term, the goal of it is we put enough good content out there that we have people reaching out, wanting to have one-on-one appointments and things, and then end up writing some business with it. But basically, Josh has been a real champ in that, just because, man, you've been Spurs, for lack of better terms, like get the thing going, but then also real good practical, like taking the videos, editing the videos, making the content really good and clean, applicable. I'm excited to see what it becomes. I think it's going to be cool.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. And ultimately, man, I mean, for me, this is an opportunity for us to practice what we preach.
Yeah. We
with
tell
somebody
them all the time.
And this is not a dig at you at all, but
Please.
your role in our industry has never been go be the mega producer.
No.
Because our roles have been, hey, how do we build a company around mega producers,
Yeah.
and extrapolate everything that they've done and create it or more so translate it into a duplicatable system for agents who have never done it before.
Right.
Or maybe who have done it partially. Right. So for us, this is a cool test because we've trained on all these things, and we've been seeing great progress with agents that we've been working with. We've helped refine and cultivate it for Chad, doing stuff with Jesse as well. But to start brand new, this is such a great case study because we can track every variable. We can track the amount of time. We can track the amount of time it takes you to create content, the amount of time it takes to edit that content, the amount of time it takes to build the brand and establish all the brand assets, right? The logo for your Cowboy Case Designer stuff, your Facebook banners, graphics, all that kind of stuff that need to go within that.
Right.
And we can literally say to any agent, in a 6-month period, we went from here to here.
Right.
In a 3-month period, we went from here to here. If you follow this step by step guidebook, you can do the same thing. Because if we can establish that for a super micro niche of, wealthy ranchers, right?
Yeah. It's a micro niche.
Take a broader niche.
Yeah.
And suddenly, it's much simpler to target those people with your content.
Oh, totally.
So I think it's awesome. I think it's super great. Caleb's been smacking his bull on the butt in a couple of these videos that I edited. His bull's name is Big Mac, a.k.a. Kevin.
Yeah, we call him Kevin.
And I'm just waiting for Caleb to get just kicked right in the chest by that bull. I'm praying that it doesn't happen. But
he's funny, man. When we got him, we unloaded him, and he was real fired up from the drive home in the trailer. I mean, 3-hour haul. And he got real fired up, and he's throwing his head and running at the fence and everything. And then you start feeding him cubes for a little while, little basically big protein pellets, and it just tastes good to him. And
I thought you were gonna say it tastes good to you as well.
No, I've never tried one.
Please don't.
I might need to actually.
You shouldn't.
But you start feeding him cubes and giving him a holler, and he'll come up to you. And what was funny was for the longest time in the past 4 weeks, like a month, literally, since we've had him, he would like run at you. I mean, and build up some speed, and then get to you, hit the brakes, and like throw his head around. And yeah, so first couple times you're like, whoa, it's like it makes you a little nervous, and then you realize, oh, he's all talk. He's not gonna do anything. But
I gotta ask you, because this is something that you would do. Did you do it back at him? First question.
No, I've had to.
And did
I've
you
had
try
to swat him before?
Did you pee on him to try to assert your dominance? Because I could see you doing something crazy like that, Caleb.
No, I could see. That's more of a dog thing. You get a dog.
Okay.
This is a legitimate pro tip. Okay, and this is crazy that we're going down this rabbit hole right now. Okay,
You don't have to go that far.
You got an outline dog. Okay, I'm just telling you. I've heard that if you mark your territory on the dog, that dog will learn real quick where its place is. You don't have to be physical with it. And I don't know. I've heard.
I can confidently say that I will never do that in my life.
Well, you got to get a dog first.
Yeah, I got to get a dog first.
Yeah. The girls in your house are begging for one.
That's true. They are. I'm not ready though. Not ready.
Oh man. But yeah, it's been good. It's been a lot of fun working on those projects, and I'm excited to see what it turns into.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see how this translates as well.
Yeah.
For so many other agents. I mean, I think this is going to be a really, really awesome thing in helping agents actually recognize and realize that they can establish their own brand, their own niche, their own place and voice in the marketplace without it having to be some kind of crazy, tens and tens of thousands of dollars entry point to do it.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things for me that's the challenge, because I've been able to help do that within our organization. But to do it within an organization, within an entity, I think sometimes the perception from other people is like, well, you've got like the backing of that entity, you've got the budget of that entity, all these different kinds of things. And meanwhile, they're thinking, well, I got to pay for leads.
Yeah.
And my challenging statement to that is, awesome, pay for leads. Spend a couple extra hours making content.
Yep.
Post on your social media every day.
Right.
Get your phone out and record some videos, right?
Yep.
Have a voice, actually be an authority in the space so you can have authority in the space and sell like you have authority in the space.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that because it's going to give, more clout to what we're actually talking about.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, it's going to be awesome to see, that impact for you and all the stuff that's going to bring for you as well.
Yeah, I'm excited. This thought came to mind as you were saying that. If your ambition doesn't outweigh your fear of failure, it's going to be a hard deal to try anything new. And if you don't try anything new, it's going to be really hard to develop that skill that can double your income.
Yeah.
Because it requires something. You don't know it. You don't know it. It's not there. You've got to develop it. So you've got to do something different. You've got to try something new. But if you're afraid to fail more than you are ambitious, that fear of failure will prevent you from taking action.
It's limiting mindsets to me.
Yeah.
Limiting mindsets keep people on that fence of the fear of failure. And so often, if you think about it, why are people afraid to fail? Like, what are they afraid of in that? I think often it's, well, they're going to have to give more time, or they're going to look silly, or maybe they're not going to be good at the thing. Okay.
Yeah.
You are going to look silly, right? That's a guarantee. You're going to look silly doing anything. People probably thought you looked silly when you got into insurance.
Yeah.
Because people's perception of those things, they're often skewed.
Right.
They're going to think you look silly when you create a piece of content that has an emoji on it. Right? They're going to.
You do that. You're the emoji king.
Yeah, but you know why? Like, there's psychological reasons for that.
It works.
With creating engagement. Like, if I'm going to watch my own video 5 times back to back to back, how much more is somebody who's trying to consume that content going to view that video because of the interactive components in it?
We're visual creatures.
Right. And the thing is that most people, they're like, well, I don't know like what to do. Great.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine. There are many pieces of technology that can help you with what to do.
Right.
There's this thing that's like real popular right now. It's called artificial intelligence.
I literally was just thinking about AI.
It's like a really big, impactful thing. If you haven't heard of it before, there's a lot of companies that do stuff with it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, Caleb, if you've ever heard of it before.
Yeah.
But you can, there's so many things, video editing, podcasting, like our podcast edits for this, it takes like less than 15 minutes
Yeah.
to edit this thing because we have an AI software that can clip back and forth based on silence and stuff like that. So it's like, I have no problem telling you that because for us, we're being smart and leveraging our time.
Right.
So that we can spend more time actually communicating with agents and helping propel the industry forward. So for us, this content is a fun passion project for us to do. It's a great connector for us to be able to network and connect with agents, to be able to like let agents into our process, into our journey as a company, our journey as executives in this industry. Even stuff like the Cowboy case designer. It's a way for them to look under the hood with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So as much as we can save time, that's what we're trying 100%. To do.
I guarantee you mentioned, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I'm about 98% sure that you could go to some AI platform. I'm just familiar with ChatGPT and punch in, how do I create a Facebook page that produces good content and generates over 300 likes? And I bet you it would map out a step-by-step. Or if you asked it specifically, give me a step-by-step to how to create XYZ, and then tell it exactly what you're trying to create.
Yeah.
And I almost guarantee you it will literally just step that out for you.
Yeah, I can guarantee you that it would step it out for you. And I'll even give a freebie right here. This is stuff that we would normally have in our paid training. If you would go to something, let's just simplify it. Most people know what ChatGPT is. If you would go to ChatGPT, and let's go back to that analogy of the niche, right? Let's say you have special interests. Let's say that you want to target, maybe you're real into football, right? Or that's any sport. For this example, let's say football. I really want to be able to target NCAA football coaches, right? That's probably a pretty hard niche to get into.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to say, I want to look at Division I, Division II, Division III NCAA football coaches. Now, you can expand it from there if it ends up being too micro. Expand it from there. NCAA D1 coaches who you know are making good money, who you know probably need things to do with that money. And basically what you can do is you can go to something like ChatGPT. You can say, okay, here's what my interests are. Here's my target demographic. I want to create content on XYZ platform, right? Name your platform because it's going to be different for all of them.
Right.
If it's TikTok or YouTube or, Instagram or Facebook or whatever else it might be in between, LinkedIn. And I want to target these particular types of people with these particular types of products.
Right.
So let's say you're in annuities, right? I want to market to these people the concepts of guaranteed lifetime income so they can protect a portion of the millions of dollars that they're making a year. So they can be set up and they don't become a statistic of people that make tons of money and then end up losing all that money because they don't manage it the right way.
Right.
And so go into ChatGPT and you just keep asking it questions. And if you say, build me a 30-day roadmap, okay, it's going to probably give you content and different post ideas and all kinds of stuff that you can do. Okay, give me 90 days, give me 120 days, give me a 12-month calendar.
Right.
And it will outline that for you.
Right.
Like, that's super simple. I might go do that.
Yeah.
That might be our next one that we trial.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're going to hit the NCAA coaching market and try to see if we can build this niche.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that's how easy it is to develop a niche and leverage a tool like ChatGPT or other AI tools to be able to actually figure out how do I market toward that niche.
Right.
And I guarantee you that it's going to give you good, practical things. Now, is there going to be some fluff that you have to cut through? Absolutely. Is there going to be some of that information that's maybe a little bit off? Absolutely. If you use it as a crutch, you're going to look silly.
Right.
Because it's not going to be accurate.
Right. You've got to refine it.
Right. And you're going to have to tell it, okay, I want to create this type of content, right? If it's posts, if it's like graphic posts, if it's video content, whatever those things are, short form video content versus long form video content. But you can ask all those questions in there. Right. And it'll give you a full on roadmap of what content to post.
It's pretty crazy.
It's wild.
I mean, guys, we've got in our cell phones, and this was before. You go back before AI was a thing. We had more computing power in our pockets than NASA had when they launched the first space shuttle. I'm going to pause for dramatic effect because that amount of computing power, and now here we are with AI. It's like the idea of I don't know how to anything is like that as an excuse has been stripped from our existence.
Yeah.
Candidly.
Yeah. I have a phrase that I use with my kids, and my kids are young. They're under 5 years old. And I ask them, if one of them says I can't, I say, are you a canter or are you a doer? And they always joke. And they're like, I'm a canter. And I will look at them and I'll say, are you a canter or are you a doer? And they're like, I'm a doer. And they go and they figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like sometimes you need somebody to tell you that you're a doer.
Yeah.
Not a canter.
Yeah.
Don't be a canter.
Yeah.
Like, stop saying that you can't do something. Figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
And the people that figure out how to do it are the people that see massive success and see their income double, triple, quadruple in a 12-month period.
Yeah. And
the people that don't are the people that are still complaining about how it's impossible to do it.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
There is no valid excuse when it comes to knowledge. Mm-hmm. Because we have more knowledge at our fingertips than we've had at any point in human history.
Right.
But we so often use it to scroll mindless things as opposed to actually being sponges. Right. And soaking up things that are going to advance us professionally, mm-hmm. personally, relationally, spiritually, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword.
Sure.
And,
Oh, yeah.
and you can wield a double-edged sword. You can wield it the right way, and it can have its intended use and purpose, or you wield it the wrong way, and it's dangerous. And that is the hand we've been dealt with the technology that we have. How you use it will determine the return you get from it. And that return will either be negative or it will be positive.
And that goes back to our very first episode, first, second, probably both, talking about character, morals, ethics, integrity. When you have all of those things and you're operating from that place, of moral high ground, right?
Right.
Where you're not, operating below the board, you're always above reproach in the way that you operate, you're going to find that success.
Yeah.
If you implement the tools and you're doing it the right way,
Yep.
it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it happen, right?
Yes. 100%. And I argue, and we go back to that episode, I made a comment that for me personally, when I look at circumstances and situations, I look at it through the lens of there's one way and one thing that Jesus would do in this situation. There's one way he would respond. There's one thing he would say. What is that one thing? And try and identify that one thing and then do or say or be, act, whatever that is, that one way. Whatever that looks like for you, I think there's one way to do business. It's the right way, and it's with the other person in mind first. And to me, that's the only way to do it for a long period of time. But you know what the key to doing it for a long period of time is? Is that you've actually attained success. Mm-hmm. So in a roundabout way, yeah, it catalyzes success, doing it the right way.
Right.
But you can do it the wrong way and still attain early success, but it won't be sustained. Mm-hmm. It'll come back.
Right.
It comes back every time. You reap what you sow, so to speak.
Yeah, and you say that, and it's totally true. We've, even in this past, few weeks, we've had some transition happen within, some of our partner agencies and stuff. Mm-hmm. Without going into any names or anything like that. Like it was something that, of course it's a bummer because you invest time, relationship, monetary, all that kind of stuff into individuals. And sometimes they make a choice that they feel like is the right thing for them, for their families, for their organizations, but it's okay.
Yeah.
And in that there's grace, like there's, full releasing, all of those different kinds of things, because ultimately we're here to serve the people that we're working with. And it's mutual, right? We expect if we're going to be in a relationship together, hey, I'm going to serve you, you're going to serve me, we're going to serve each other. Yep. And that's the way that this business relationship is going to work. Or else now you're either taking too much or I'm taking too much. Like it has to be symbiotic. Yeah. Fully, right? It can't be partially symbiotic some of the time. And so we saw this transition happen. And when a lot of people would be like, oh man, that's a bummer. You lost, a big agent who's kind of going and doing their own thing. And it's not. Right. Because we actually, in the span of losing probably about 70, 75 agents in that particular
transition
hierarchy. Yeah. We got 5 agents that we're bringing on board that do over double what those 75 or so agents were doing. Right. With 5 agents. Right. By handling it the right way and by saying, hey, yeah, you go do your thing. You do the thing that you feel like's best for your family. We support you in that. We're here for you. We're still a resource for you, all those kinds of things. And simultaneously, what did we get in return? We got double the revenue with, I don't even know what the math would be on that, but 5 compared to 75 people doing double. Yeah. So, it's one of those things where if you do it the right way, if you handle it the right way, if you always stay above board, if you don't get ugly when people make decisions that you wouldn't necessarily make yourself, it's going to work out for you. It's called sowing and reaping. Yeah. Right? You will reap what you sow. Yeah. So if you sow hope, you sow positivity, you sow, grace, you sow servanthood. Yeah. Those things will come back to you. And you're always going to have the people that you need. And that's why that whole, collaboration over competition thing is such a big piece. Because it's like, well, if we can just realize that if we collaborate effectively, mm-hmm. we don't ever have to have fear of competition. Yep. And I posted a thing on LinkedIn this week talking about stop avoiding your competition. Get close to them. Learn from them. Lean into them. Be close friends with them and still be competitors. Use it as friendly competition to actually sharpen yourselves. For sure. Like, have internal things between you and other businesses to help more people, to better the industry.
Yeah.
to keep each other innovating, all these kinds of things. But so often it's easier to just go, do our own thing. And this is not, I'm not even talking business here. I'm talking life, right? This is just life, relationships, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's easier when it gets hard to go away.
Right.
Versus coming close.
It totally. And I would add to that when we typically deem competition when we see somebody in the same space that we're in, targeting the same market that we're targeting and doing the same thing that we're doing. And the idea that comes up with competition is that, well, if they eat, then I have to starve.
Right.
And if I eat, then they have to starve. And that's like the primitive mentality of it, right? It's like we're in competition with each other and only one of us can win. And who's that going to be? Well,
right.
It's not going to be you. It's sure going to be me, kind of a thing, right? And the reality is no. When the market is as big as the market is, there is no lack. There isn't scarcity. And everybody can eat. Mm-hmm. You and the agent next door in your town, y'all can both write enough business, plenty of business, mm-hmm. and good business to be well taken care of and have a great working relationship in the midst of it.
Right.
So, and I would go actually want to take this back to one thing you said about symbiotic and mutual, benefit and all those things. It's like that should be the agent mentality when working with clients as well. One of the things, this is just a total random sidebar, but I do think that it can hurt agents. When agents come across to clients as overly thankful, I think it can create a perception.
Almost.
Yes. It can create a perception in the client that what they're doing for the agent is more valuable to the agent than what the agent is doing to the client. Yeah. Truth be told, that's like Chad does a pretty good job, I think, in what I've seen of him.
Oh, his comeback for that is fantastic.
Yeah.
This affects your retirement way more than it affects mine.
Right.
And it's so true.
Yeah.
Like even at the commission levels that annuities would be at, right? If you're at street, you're talking usually 6 to 7%. If you're somehow set below street or you're captive or you have your own internal agreements, whatever, it might be less than that. But still, whatever that amount is going to be, you can do the math on that, right? For every million or so that you're protecting, mm-hmm. There is so much more benefit and value to the client when they're getting the lifetime peace of mind that they know that they're never going to run out of their money as long as they live.
Yep.
Right? They've got that guaranteed lifetime income, if that's the proper solution for that particular scenario. Versus, $60,000, $70,000 to a high-performing salesperson. Like it's not equitable. It is more important and more valuable for that client in most cases.
Absolutely. 100% is. And that gets people kind of on their heels a little bit. Because if they're thinking that somehow the agent is more benefited than they are, and the challenge is when agents are in a tough spot and they do need to make a sale, it can be really easy to not be your normal self.
Right.
Just be human.
Right.
It doesn't need to be this, oh my gosh, thank you for taking time out of your day. I really appreciate you taking time to meet with me. It's like, you're the one there to educate them. Mm-hmm. At the end of that, all things go well. Ideally, they're thanking you. Tell me that's not like a salesperson's dream, an agent's dream, a retirement planner's dream, an advisor's dream. You're working with people. You're giving them insights, educating them, closing deals, in whatever capacity that looks like. Is the best end solution not that they come back to you and say, hey, man, I really appreciate what you did. Thank you for...
Oh, absolutely. No question.
Yes. But if you start that whole relationship from this, you're creating that mentality mm-hmm. in those people that you're the one benefiting from this whole right. deal, it really makes getting to that end difficult. So just be you, and be appreciative, be grateful, whatever, but it doesn't need to be excessive.
Right.
I guess. It needs to be a mutually beneficial symbiotic relationship,
right.
and both parties need to see it that way.
You know what's interesting about that is I often see, and this happens a lot with salespeople, the person that's buying from that salesperson often elevates themselves above the salesperson. Like they feel like I'm in control here. And I feel like this is a common human trait, right? When someone's trying to be sold something and they feel like they're trying to be sold, they immediately try to assert dominance. Even if they're not a super domineering person, it just happens.
Yep.
Where they're like, no, not interested. No, I don't want that.
Yeah.
No, I'm shutting my door, right? Whatever it is, right? I'm deleting the email, whatever it is that they feel. And I feel like that's almost a fight or flight, tendency. It's kind of fight and flight at the same time.
Right.
I'm going to fight you and then I'm going to go away from you, kind of thing. I'm going to make sure that you know that I don't want this. So agents sometimes do the opposite, where they come in and they try to overly assert themselves as being like superior, right? But if you just come in, like you said, as a human, hey, I'm an expert in this thing. You need help with this thing. Let's just have a conversation about how this works. I'll answer some questions for you.
Yeah.
I'll show you the solutions that I have prepared for you based on the information that you've given me. And at that point, you can decide and, do your own due diligence and figure out if this is the right thing for you and your family or not.
Yeah.
And if we can approach the process, that sales transaction process like that, where it's just like two people sitting across the table or, across a Zoom, wherever it is, and you can figure out how to break those barriers down in your appointments and stuff like that, suddenly you don't have to have these like weird psychological, things that you're trying to do or you're having to like analyze if they're trying to do them to you. You're just there being a person.
Right.
And you're not like willing to put up with them doing those things with you. So you don't have to take that client on if they're going to treat you like that.
Right. I did some math and I determined that if an agent would have on average 2 conversations with what appears to be a pre-retiree or a retiree a day, random person. You see them at the store, you see them, out and about at the restaurant, bar, whatever. You see this person that's retiree or pre-retiree. Initiate 2 conversations with those people per day. That's 14 conversations a week. That's almost 60 conversations a month. You don't want to do weekends? Great. Do 3 during the working days. And that could be phone call, that could be message on Facebook, that could be an actual face-to-face interaction with somebody. Idea being that you get to 60 conversations with people per month. Ultra low conversion because you got 60 people that are pre-retirees or retirees, so they're in the demographic.
Sure.
And you're creating conversation with them. 5% conversion out of that feels pretty conservative. That'd be 3 sales per month just out of conversations. Yeah. Industry average case size is would almost be $450,000 a month. You're talking about $5 million a year in production as a result of conversations.
Right. Case in point, we're flying out to 8% a while back.
You did this.
And I'm having a full-blown conversation, not initiating it. I'm sitting there about to put my AirPods on and listen to some smooth jazz music and close my eyes and try to nap because we were leaving at like 7 in the morning. So we had to get there at like 5, right to the airport, which if you remember from the last episodes, I'm not a morning person, right? So I'm there tired. And this lady was sitting next to me and she was a retiree. She had just recently retired. And she starts asking me what I do. I'm telling her what I do. I kind of just give a, 15-second, 20-second answer. She starts asking me more questions. She starts just having a conversation with me about, my family and my kids and all that kind of stuff. Starts telling me about her family, her kids. Next thing you know, like we're talking for an hour and a half of this plane flight. And we exchange contact info.
Yeah.
At the end. And it's super simple. I'm like, hey, if you ever need any help if you ever want any eyes on your, all your retirement accounts, you just send me an email.
Yep.
And I haven't heard from her, but think about that. If you did that regularly, you just let conversation happen. I could have asked her in that first 2 minutes, first 3-5 minutes, could have exchanged contact info. Like that's how open it was at that time.
Right.
So it didn't take an hour and a half, whereas some of you might be thinking right now, well, you had an hour and a half to talk to her where those walls were coming down. No, I could have asked her after 5 minutes. But it's just, once again, being a human, right? Just have conversation with people. Just let people know that you're genuinely interested in helping them.
Yeah.
And not just trying to like make some money off of them. Because
Right.
people can read through that. I mean, in this day and
totally.
age, when people are being sold all the time, people can tell if you're trying to sell them something or if you're really trying to help them.
You came up with 2 questions that I thought were fantastic because they're extremely low barrier questions, and it opens the door for conversation. Can I tell them?
Mm-hmm.
You said, number 1, what's your greatest retirement hope or dream?
Yep.
Like, what are you most excited about? And then number 2, what's your greatest concern in retirement? And what's really, really interesting is that there is a recipe for answers into those 2 questions, where an agent asking those questions could then respond to their answers and say, what if there was a way to eliminate your number 1 concern and guarantee your number 1 hope?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like, there is a real set of answers that they could give that could lend to that response.
Yeah.
That now all of a sudden you are doing some serious
Right.
good there.
Right.
And I'll share this story. My grandfather used to be in insurance. It was primarily life. This was years and years and years ago, and he had to get out of it. He got into ranching. So I mean, ranching is like 3, 4, 5 generations. I don't know how far back it goes. It's a while in my family. He got out of it because he said that he started looking at every person as his next
That's
sale.
a prospect.
Yeah. And that for him was like, he's like, I don't want to look at people that way.
Yep.
And I understand that. I agree with that sentiment 100%. We don't want to look at people
As
in that
dollar
light.
signs, yeah.
Right. But if you can look at somebody and recognize that what you are an expert in can drastically, positively impact their situation, and you don't get attached to it. You don't get emotionally attached to the sale. You don't get attached to the deal. You just simply put it out there as an opportunity to extend yourself, your knowledge, your expertise to help somebody. I think that there is a way to go about doing exactly what we just talked about and it not become that idea of every person I
Right.
see is just more dollars.
Well, and that's where, even going back to, I speak for myself. I know I could speak for you in this, but like being a follower of Jesus,
Yeah.
I always try to think through that same lens of like, well, what would Jesus think about this scenario? You know,
Yeah.
like it's that whole thing, like money is not the root of all evil, but the love of money is the root of all evil.
right.
Right? So if we're talking about, oh, I love to make money, I love to close deals, suddenly when I look at that person, now I see them as money. I see them as growing something for me
Yep.
versus providing value to them. And the way that Jesus would lead, he would go into that scenario and say, oh, how can I serve this person?
Mm-hmm.
Now he wouldn't receive payment. So I guess that's maybe something that we still need to work on our altruism there. But but still to think about that, like the heart posture of,
Right.
hey, I'm genuinely having this conversation with you to serve you and to really try to provide you a solution that I think is the best. Which is
100%.
why I'd be willing to sell a product that has a 4.5 or 5.5% street comp over the one that has 8.
Yeah. If that's what's best for your situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
like that's
Well-
where you really see the heart there. And I think it's really important for agents to analyze. And this is something I personally check myself with on a monthly basis, right? It's one of those things that I always keep guard on myself of building a successful business. I never want it to become about the money. I want it to become about the impact. Money provides the ability to have impact, right?
Yeah.
And that's the point of it. We run a business to have freedom, to have flexibility, yes, but ultimately it's to have impact in our communities, to improve our, the communities, the society at large, all that kind of stuff, to provide jobs, to allow other people that we're employing to have freedom, flexibility, all those different kind of things. So if it's all about my gain, suddenly it becomes less about all of those other external things, and it becomes a love of money.
Yep.
So for me, I'm always checking myself on that. Not that I don't struggle with that at all.
Sure.
But it's because I check myself on it all the time. I
That's
think
good.
any business person at all, man, woman, it's always going to be a temptation that can creep up.
Yeah.
Especially the more that you make, the more that you chase it, the more that you're trying to build, new things, the more companies that you're a part of, all that kind of stuff. It's easy for that to take, center stage in your life versus what that thing allows you to be able to do to better the lives of others.
It's easier to throw away the pack of fruit snacks than it is to eat 5 and throw away the last 2. And what I mean by that is it's easier to make those sacrifices, I think, monetarily, like you were talking about comp,
Mm-hmm.
for example, when earning isn't as high. And it's like the more you earn, the more you have,
Right.
I think, the more difficult it becomes to actually like push that. And you would think it would be the opposite,
Right.
but I don't think it is the
It's
opposite.
because money amplifies and highlights what's there.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why you see people that, they become famous or they come into a lot of money and their lives can blow up when they get a lot of money, because whatever was there is now there with a lot more resources.
Right.
So there's a lot greater ability for that thing to come out in a bad way.
Sure.
So, but if what's there is good, if the soil's good, if what's, the roots that have taken hold are good, then when there's more resource on it, more water, more nutrients, more fertilizer, well, suddenly now you've got a beautiful plant that's coming up out of the ground.
Right.
And not, big old weeds and bull nettle and all these kind of things that Texas has that'll just
It's true.
make you feel like you just got stung by 1,000 bees.
Yeah. That's true. That stuff is terrible.
Yeah, that stuff
It
is
really
terrible.
is.
This
Awesome,
is good
man.
stuff, Caleb. I'm super excited with what's been going on, and I feel like this has been valuable today. It's been valuable for me.
It's been good for me. I love talking about it, recapping and celebrating wins and learning from losses or whatever you want to call it. It's like it's good.
Yep. So for agents, all agents, couple practicals, right? Look at the things that you're doing, analyze yourself internally. Even going back to the beginning, right? Pay attention to the way that you're selecting products, all those kinds of things, everything in between, especially with like the content stuff. Like go post content, go develop your niche, go carve out that niche for yourself, really start to build and establish your voice in the industry. That's what we're working on over these next couple weeks. And it'd be cool for y'all to be on this journey with us as we're going to continue to talk about it, continue to talk about the Cowboy Case Designer and how things are going there.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully we have good updates for you.
Yeah, we better have good updates.
I hope so. But anyhow.
But with that being said, cheers.
Cheers to another great week.
To another great week.